Yeah, I think we have them. Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah, we have enough burst spells now. Yep, that's game.
Onward to victory.
Alright, we got there. And then rummage away for the win. Alright, we take another one.
Easy. Like my name.
Hey everyone, Raptor Spank here. Today we have another episode of On the Grind, the show where I cover a deck I'm playing in Ranked. I'll break down the deck as well as a couple of flex spots. Then we'll put the deck through some matches and review how we do afterwards. Noxus Piltover Ezreal is primarily a combo deck. It's a little more aggro than the Ionia variant and a little more control than the Bilgewater variant, but ultimately your number one goal is to level up Ezreal. We do this by targeting our opponent's creatures a lot of different ways, but in addition we have a couple of more aggressive cards that can either buy us time or can kill our opponent pretty quickly, which allows us to win through a more aggressive strategy, and it means when our Ezreal flips, we're more likely to win right on the spot. Now let's start with the champion package. We'll start with the most important card in the deck, 3 copies of Ezreal, a 3-cost 1/3 elusive. When he hits the opponent's Nexus, create a fleeting Mystic Shot in hand, and he levels up once he's targeted enemies 8+ times. Then he becomes a 2/4, and whenever you cast a spell, he'll deal 2 damage to the enemy Nexus. His champ spell is Mystic Shot, the 2-cost fast spell that deals 2 to anything. This is the primary win con of the deck. Our goal is to level him up and get him to the 2nd level, and then cast as many spells as we can and quickly combo out our opponent and kill them from even as high a health total as 20 in a single turn. He can also be used to create removal, but typically you want to wait to play him until he's already leveled up, because it's very disastrous for the deck if he gets killed before he can level up. But in certain matchups, it's very easy to play him early and hit your opponent's Nexus to get Mystic Shots to point at the opponent's creatures in order to level him up. It can be pretty potent. He also turns useless low-cost burst spells into basically payoffs. He makes Rummage and stuff like that extremely viable because now it's 1 single mana to deal at least 2 damage to your opponent's Nexus, and all happen at burst speed, so they don't even get control back. And his champ spell serves as a massive closeout / additional removal, so if you end up with 2 Ezreals, that's not a problem because you can play 1, and now you have another Mystic Shot in hand, as well as the fact that he can hit your opponent's Nexus to create even more Mystic Shots. So in general, his champ spell's really good. He creates a really, really powerful spell on his own. If you find him in the late game after he's leveled up with a second one, then that's just even more damage to your opponent's Nexus. He's just an all-around great closeout card. Next up, we have 3 copies of Draven, the 3-cost 3/3 with quick attack. Whenever you play or he strikes something, you create a Spinning Axe in hand, a 0-cost burst spell. To play, discard 1, give an ally +1/+0 this round. And he levels up once he's struck with 2 total Spinning Axes, becoming a 4/4 and gaining Overwhelm, as well as creating 2 Spinning Axes in hand whenever you play or strike something with him. His champ spell, Whirling Death, is a 3-cost fast spell. A battling ally strikes a battling enemy. He's a very aggressive champion that creates lots of free cards. By playing him, you get a Spinning Axe. When you swing with him, he gets a Spinning Axe. Since he has quick attack, it's very hard for your opponent to block and kill him, so he should be able to create multiple Spinning Axes turn after turn. And the Spinning Axes themselves are a great payoff for Ezreal since they're burst speed and they cost 0. You do have to discard a card to them, but when you're creating multiple Spinning Axes, you can discard a Spinning Axe to Spinning Axe. You can use the Spinning Axes to buff your Ezreal before it hits your opponent's Nexus to do even more damage. It's just all around a great combo card for what the deck is trying to do. And the Spinning Axes themselves, since they don't do a lot for us right off the bat, they can always be pitched to things like Rummage or Get Excited to get some value out of them without really losing anything important. And the champion spell for him can not only just fast level Draven on his own by using 1 axe or 2 axes and hitting a different creature to level him up, but in addition, that targets an opponent's creature, which will help trigger our Ezreal and get him to leveling up faster. And if we level up Draven, he can become a win condition on his own, since he gains Overwhelm and he creates so many axes, he can deal a ton of damage very, very quickly. Next up is the Follower package. This starts with 2 copies of House Spider, a 2-cost 2/2. When summoned, summon a Spiderling. This is just a great creature to go wide for blocking and can be pretty aggressive when we need to speed up the clock. When we hit like a control matchup where we want to kill our opponent quickly, this creates multiple creatures and it's 3 damage essentially, or 3 power for only 2 mana. So that's pretty effective for running our opponent down. And it's really good into the mid-range decks because it creates 2 blockers, so you can keep chumping a lot of creatures for a while. And it's an early drop, so it comes down quick. It can get damage through quick. Next up is 3 copies of Arachnoid Sentry, a 3-cost 3/2. When you play it, stun an enemy. This is a trigger for Ezreal since it targets the opponent's creatures with a stun. It can buy you time really well by stunning creatures that are too big for you to deal with right away. It combos with certain other cards that we have that benefit from things being blocked, like specifically Ravenous Flock. We'll get to that later. And it can also force damage through by stunning your opponent's blockers, and then you can swing with everything or force your opponent into bad blocks, stuff like that, so it can really speed up your clock as well. And since it has 3 power, it's very good at trading with really big creatures or really important creatures, and if it's not getting blocked at all, it's dealing a ton of damage to your opponent's Nexus. Next up, we have 3 copies of Chumpwump, a 4-cost 4/3. When summoned, create 2 Mushroom Clads in hand. This is just a massive body for blocking or attacking. 4 power can kill a lot of the biggest threats in the game that we're most worried about, as well as it can just force a ton of damage through if our opponent is playing slow and not playing many creatures. And then it creates 2 1-cost burst spells, which is great for killing our opponent when Ezreal's flipped. Or in general, we can always pitch those Mushroom Clouds to things like Get Excited and Rummage as well, just to create real cards off of the fake cards. And it's just, in general, a great all-around card for either gumming up the board to block against our opponent's things, or speeding up our own clock, and just helping our Ezreal win the game the turn he comes down. Now let's go into the spell package. This is the largest package in the deck since most of our deck's goal is just to target our opponent's creatures. We have a lot of spells that will do that. This starts with 3 copies of Thermogenic Beam, a 0-cost slow spell. Spend all of your mana to deal that much to a unit. This is just a flexible catch-all since it deals a changing amount of damage based on how much mana you have. It can kill some of the biggest creatures in the game that otherwise we wouldn't really have an effective answer to. And it's removal that can come down even on turn 1. And just in general, it can be super effective for killing units. But even if we just need 1 more trigger on Ezreal, for example, and we're all out of mana, this can be cast at 0. And that can even be used when our Ezreal's flipped, just to get 2 more damage through to our opponent's Nexus. So it's just an all-around great card for the deck. Next up is 2 copies of Jury Rig, a 1-cost burst spell. When cast or discarded, summon a Scrap Scuttler. This is a burst speed chump block, so our opponent can swing thinking we have nothing, and then we can play this really quick and block. It's great for killing things like Fleet Feather, Tracker, that our opponent wouldn't swing with if they knew we had a blocker, but then they swing thinking we don't. We Jury Rig and kill it, and that can be a pretty important unit to kill early, but it's also great because if we discard it, we still get our Scrap Scuttler, so it's great to go with Rummage and Get Excited. And you can even use stuff like Spinning Axe to discard it to get a blocker while also pumping one of your units. Just in general, it's a great all-around card for the deck. And it's even a decent Ezreal payoff since it's a burst speed spell at a low cost. It can get that 2 extra damage from Ezreal for very, very low mana. And then in general, it's just a great chump blocker to buy us time against the go big decks. Next up is 3 copies of Ravenous Flock, a 1-cost fast spell. Deal 4 damage to a unit if it's damaged or stunned. It's low cost, high damage, so it's a great way to answer the big creatures as well. The problem is we do need to have some way of stunning or damaging the opponent's creature to cast this, and if they heal in response, then it fizzles the spell. But we have a ton of ways to do all of those things, so it's pretty easy to cast our Ravenous Flock. Because we can either chump block with a ton of chump blocks with like House Spider and Jury Rig, and we have a lot of little ways to do damage like Static Shock or Thermogenic, stuff like that, to just deal some amount of damage so Ravenous Flock can do the rest that we need it to. All for a low cost. Next up is 2 copies of Rummage, a 1-cost burst spell. Discard 2 to draw 2, and if you have exactly 1 other card in hand, you can discard 1 to draw 1. This basically turns a lot of our fake cards, like Axes or Mushroom Clouds, into real cards from our deck, since we can pitch these cards that are doing very little in the early game, and start cycling through our cards, hit our Ezreals quicker, hit our really powerful removal, stuff like that. And late game, it's great payoff for Ezreal. Again, it's 1-cost burst spell, so you don't pass priority to your opponent, and you can cast it for very low mana, just to do 2 damage to your opponent. Next up is 3 copies of Mystic Shot, a 2-cost fast spell. Deal 2 to anything. It's a clean catch-all at a very low cost. It kills units. It can kill your opponent. It's a great Ezreal payoff because once Ezreal's flipped, you cast it. That's 4 damage to your opponent's Nexus right there. 2 from the spell, 2 from the trigger. It's just an all-around great card in the deck that's very cheap and can be used in many different situations. Next up is 2 copies of Culling Strike, a 3-cost fast spell. kill a unit with 3 or less power. It's a great answer to problematic cards like Ezreal, Zed, or Braum, since like Zed is the most threatening because they can pump it in response, but Ezreal and Braum will usually be caught by Culling Strike because it's hard for them to get pumped up to the level necessary to survive through it, and it's still not too expensive mana-wise, so it can deal with these really scary cards super easily. And it can always be pitched to discards in bad matchups like mid-range decks like the Ashe Frostbite mid-range deck. We can always pitch it to stuff like Rummage or Spinning Axis, etc. Next up is 2 copies of Get Excited, a 3-cost fast spell. To play, discard 1, deal 3 to anything. This is another clean catch-all like Mystic Shot. It can be pointed at enemy units to trigger Ezreal. It can be used at the end of the game for a massive payoff. That's 5 damage with flipped Ezreal out. The big downside is you need to discard a card to this, but as already covered, there's a lot of cards that we can discard like Spinning Axes, Mushroom Clouds, etc., Jury Rigs. There's a lot of ways to make that discard not a problem, let alone the fact that it's just such a valuable card that often discarding a good card is still better for us than the alternative. Next up is 2 copies of Noxian Guillotine, a 3-cost fast spell. Kill a damaged unit to create a fleeting Noxian Guillotine in hand. This is an answer to any unit, no matter how large it is. We just have to find some way to deal damage to it already. Of course, a big threat is our opponent healing it in response, but in general, this allows us to deal with even the largest units in the game. Like, even if our opponent gets a 30-30 Overwhelm Catastrophe, if we can deal 1 damage to it, then we can Noxian Guillotine it. And no matter what they do, it's dead, as long as they don't heal it. So it just answers some of the biggest units, like that, or They Who Endure, stuff that we wouldn't be able to answer with any other removal in our deck. And since it creates multiple copies in hand, if we've been able to deal damage to multiple creatures that our opponent has, this can give us multiple Ezreal triggers. As we Noxian Guillotine 1, get a fleeting one, then cast that to kill another one. That's 2 triggers for Ezreal off 1 card, which is really good. And then the fleeting guillotine, if we don't have any way to use it, we can always pitch it to stuff like Rummage. We would lose the fleeting card anyways, so it's already gone. It's a fake card. It's not something we have, so we can pitch it to stuff like Rummage or Get Excited, and we don't actually lose anything. We just create even more value off it. So it's just a really strong card in the deck. Next up is 2 copies of Gotcha, a 4-cost fast spell. When drawn, costs 2 less this round, deal 3 to a unit. This is a decent answer to mid-sized threats and kill stuff like Ashe, and it can be potentially highly cost efficient, which is why we include it in the deck, is because 2 mana for 3 damage is very far ahead for what we're looking to do. Most of this stuff will cost us at least 3 mana to accomplish, so being able to cast it for 2 can really get us out of a bind unexpectedly. Next up is 3 copies of Static Shock, a 4-cost fast spell. Deal 1 to an enemy or enemy nexus, and then deal 1 to another. Draw 1. This gives us 2 Ezreal triggers off a single card, which is the biggest benefit of this card. It's our best way to level up Ezreal. And it cantrips, so we get another card, so we didn't even go down cards to cast this. And, worst case scenario, we can always hit our opponent's Nexus with this, so even late game, while it's very expensive at 4 mana, it can still deal 3 damage to the enemy's Nexus when cast with a leveled up Ezreal out. And it's a great setup for things like Guillotine or Ravenous Flock, since we can deal 1 to 2 different creatures, and now they've become damaged. So if you have enough mana, you can always Static Shock, Guillotine, which is a great combo. So all around, this is actually one of our best cards in the deck, despite it doing so little damage. And then finally, we have 2 copies of Progress Day. The 8-cost Burst Spell, draw 3, then reduce the cost of those cards by 1. This is just a great late-game hand refill, especially in mid-range matchups where we're having to burn a ton of cards to just keep up with our opponent and keep ourselves from getting behind in board state and just losing to a huge board. And then suddenly we just fill our hand back up with a Progress Day. And the fact that it cheapens cost makes it really good for late game, like 1-turn combo kills. Suddenly our Rummages are all free, our Jury Rigs are all free, instead of costing any amount of mana. It makes it really easy to just slam a leveled up Ezreal and just kill our opponent right there on the spot without ever getting them a chance to react. Alright, so let's look at some flex spots for the deck. One of the biggest things we can look at here is trying to make the deck a little more consistent. We have a lot of 2-ofs here and there. So the first thing I could think of is like, Gotcha is very situational. I prefer to have the 2 Gotchas because the chance that you do draw them and they end up being like a 2-cost 3 damage is just super effective for the deck and just the most cost efficient you can get. But you can always drop the 2 Gotchas to go up. Number 1 choices would be a 3rd Rummage and a 3rd Get Excited. You could go up like a 3rd Progress Day as well. You could always get a third house spider. There's a number of benefits here. You can also go down Culling Strikes to increase these cards as well. Just in general, you could increase the consistency by doing a little less silver bullets in the deck. But since our deck is so focused on targeting opponent's creatures and all that, I prefer to have this wide palette of removal spells so we have clean answers to basically anything our opponent can play. Another big thing is you can replace the 3 copies of Ravenous Flock with 3 copies of Blade's Edge, a 1-cost fast spell, deal 1 to anything. Ravenous Flock is really good for dealing with big creatures, and with a lot of mid-range decks in the format right now, it's really, really strong. But Blade's Edge has a lot of great uses in its own right. It can enable Noxian Guillotine very easily on its own by dealing 1 damage for only 1 mana to anything, and then now it's damaged, so you can guillotine it. It's also great against low health aggro decks, stuff like Spider aggro, where a lot of their stuff only has 1 health, so this can very, very easily answer a huge threat from our opponent for only a single mana. And it makes your Ezreal even more powerful, because now if it flips, you have all these 1-cost spells that deal essentially 3 damage with a flipped Ezreal, and if you hit them with Progress State, they're 0, so it's a ton of damage for a very, very low cost. The problem being, with so many mid-range decks in the format right now, I personally prefer Ravenous Flock, but this will give you a crazier combo turn. And then another option is, you can always drop the House Spiders plus a removal, probably 1 copy of Culling, for 3 copies of Chempunk Pickpocket, a 2-cost 3/2. Whenever he strikes the Nexus, create a copy of a spell from our opponent's deck. It's very, very aggressive. It's 3 damage on turn 2, which is huge. Your opponent has to deal with it, because you will get out of control super quickly by stealing cards from, well, not stealing, but copying cards from your opponent's deck. It's a hugely problematic thing for them. They have to answer this card. It forces them to play more defensively. It's just a great card for running our opponent down, and it boosts card advantage by giving us copies every time it hits. So that just is an all-around great card. The problem is, again, with a lot of mid-range in the format right now, having 2 chump blockers off House Spider is super valuable. So even though this trades very effectively with some of our opponent's things, a lot of our opponent's decks have clean ways to answer him on turn 2, either through blockers or through removal spells, so I prefer to go the House Spider route myself. And then finally, there's another hybrid variant of this deck you can go with that's basically running Swain instead of Draven. You start changing a number of the cards in the deck. You probably add stuff like Boom Crew Rookie instead of House Spider, and your basic goal is to just do as much non-combat damage to your opponent as you can, either their creatures or their Nexus, so you can level up Swain, and then Swain becomes a huge win con on his own, whereas Draven is almost never your win con, so it's like this variant of the deck is hyper-focused on Ezreal. Going the Swain route makes it so you have 2 really powerful payoffs, either Swain or Ezreal. Either one can win you the game very easily. The problem being, it tends to be a little slower. It tends to get run down by aggro decks a little bit easier. It's just all around kind of a clunkier variant of the deck, in my opinion. So I prefer the Draven variant that's just hyper-focused and extremely consistent. But the Swain variant is another variant you can definitely run that's legitimately good in its own right. Alright, so that's the deck. You can find the deck code in the description of this video. Now I just wanted to give a quick shout out. I wanted to thank Sora Shinzoku for comparing notes a while back after we played a match and selling me on the Ravenous Flocks for this deck. Really helped me figure out how I wanted this list to go. And let's see how this deck does in some ranked matches. Alright, looks like some Frostbite mid-range. We'll see if we can get there. It's a little bit of a sketchy matchup since we have a slightly difficult time dealing with some of their bigger threats, but ooh, a Noxian Guillotine is a good way to do that, and Chump Wump trades with a lot of good things as well. I might actually keep this entire hand. The curve's not necessarily great, but Draven's pretty strong, even into this matchup, and his spinning axes, if they get out of control, is pretty good for dealing with Reckoning. And then Guillotine's one of the better cards in this matchup. I think I'm just gonna keep this. We would like some, that's actually really good in this matchup. That's our best turn 3. Culling Strike's not awful. It's definitely not ideal in this matchup, but we can find stuff that'll deal with. Ooh, Static Shock plus Noxian Guillotine, very good. Tempting to kill it now, but I don't really have any reason to. I think we just pass turn, play this Draven. Ooh, another Draven. That's actually really good.
Time for the
Oh.
main event.
Okay, so I could pitch Culling Strike to Spinning Axe, and then use Draven's Whirling Death to level Draven up this turn.
Faster than my arrow?
Ooh, that is
I
pretty
think
good.
not.
Yeah, we're just gonna swing.
Axes coming right up.
Yeah, I think this is fine. Big problem is that Ashe is very scary. Wow, interesting. Ah, that's what he's going for. Well, that's unfortunate for him. How do we want to do this? So, if I pump it once, he'll get to 1, 3. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think we can auto level him up, unfortunately.
You hoping they'll die?
But we can deal with this Ashe. We can deal with this Ashe.
Now we're cooking.
I think that's good enough. I think that's good enough for us. That was very ballsy of him to block with Ashe there. Oh, he does have Elixir of Iron. Okay, that's a little more problematic. That still lets our Noxian Guillotine kill her, though. Yeah, nothing we could do about that. Alright, we burned a fair amount of his cards. And we still have a Draven. We weren't able to level him up, but now this is just another Draven, so we're good with that. Let's see what he does.
What time is it?
Yeah, so I think we'll play Chump Wump to trade with Kato, and then we'll have Noxian Guillotine to deal with Ashe. Well, I guess we can't trade with Kato.
I give you muscles.
Let's see, is it worth dealing damage to him? I don't think so. We'll block here and just kill her. Take the 5 damage. A little unfortunate because we'd rather get multiple guillotine procs in one turn, but we're just gonna swing, get the 4 damage through. He's not gonna block. Now the question is, do we play this Draven? I think we do. He could be playing Reckoning here,
Time for the main
but if he does, now we have 2 axes to save this Chump Wump.
Patience.
Okay, he's not playing Reckoning this turn. All right. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. We can just pass turn. All right, that's not too problematic yet. Multiple 5-drops is bad for us, but we should be okay. If we can play this Arachnoid Sentry, that'll be really good for us. Because Kato plus that would be a very weird choice if he does it that way. There we go. Yeah. That's scary for us. That's sketchy.
Hot on the trail.
Okay, never mind. Very weird play. Alright, how does that do for us? Very low life total, so we're not exactly thrilled about this, but that could work. Rough, but we can live with that. Do I waste any of these spinning axes? I don't think so. Let's dish out a little bit of damage here. How close are we to leveling Ezreal? We're getting there. Oh, we can deal with Kato now.
Draven.
That's actually pretty good because we have this house spider. So we'll kill Kato, get him off the board, bank this mana, and we'll probably just progress stay next turn. Is his Ashe leveled up? Not quite. But it will be pretty easy for him to level Ashe up. Oh, that's really good. Do we just run out this Sentry then in Ravenous Flock? I don't think so. I don't think it's worth it. We'll progress day. Those are those are some pretty good cards. I don't think we're going to play anything yet. But those are some pretty ideal cards. We're definitely at risk of a reckoning.
Line up.
This is definitely getting pretty scary. Might have to kill something this turn. Yeah. I think we have to deal some damage here. And that way next turn we can kill him with Get Excited. Because he's probably going to go straight to combat here. That was extremely weird. I kind of get it, but he really just gave us our best out there. He's going to go to combat now.
I'll do it myself.
Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to block here because we have to. We have to block here, we have to block there. Now the question is, are we willing to... No, we're not. We're not willing to. I want to be greedy here. If I'm honest, I want to be greedy here. Actually, you know, we're going to do this because we have Ravenous block. I want to be greedy here and play Ezreal before playing any of these spells, but that's just going to cost us the game needlessly, so let's be smart. Waste 2 points of damage, but hopefully that won't matter. Now the question is, how much can he do to answer this Ezreal? I don't think he can really do anything, so we're going to play him. He can't cast Reckoning this turn, so at least that's going for us. We may want to play these mushrooms before we go to next turn, because we're kind of hoping for these mushrooms to for our opponent to draw some of them. All right, what's he got? All right, that's unfortunate. We're gonna have to pitch everything to save him. But, yeah. We're gonna do that. We're dead if Ezreal dies here, so... And if he has, like, the Brittle Steel, that won't do anything here. So we were pretty safe for that play. That was one of our best draws. Just have to hope he doesn't have another... Okay, he doesn't have the other Culling Strike. We should be in pretty good shape here, then. Alright, so we're just going to play this one first.
Firing.
Okay, because we had to get one Ezreal trigger there, so if I don't, if I try to stack them both, if he kills Ezreal in response, we lose the game. Whereas we should be good here. I'm trying to think what he could have that would kill us. I don't think he has anything. Because before, if he had Culling Strike in response and we put both Mystic Shots on the stack, he Culling Strikes Ezreal, we drop him to 1, he decimates again, and we lose. Which would suck. I don't think there's a lot he can do here, but we'll see. Alright, that's fine. Yep. Alright, there we go. We got there. It's a bit of a sketchy matchup. Culling Strike is pretty nightmarish, but if we can buy ourselves enough time, we get there. Alright, looks like the run back. Playing against the Frostbite mid-range deck again. So again, our big lookouts is Culling Strike again. Reckoning can be pretty brutal if we do it right, or do it at the wrong time. This hand's a little worse than our last one though. Gonna pitch this Gotcha. I almost never want this in my starting hand. Like, you want to draw Gotcha on a good turn, so you almost never want it in your starting hand. Some matchups it might be fine, but this is definitely not one where I really want it in my starting hand. And Progress Day, I'd rather draw into that later. This I'm okay with. It's not the best into the matchup, but Arachnoid Sentry is great. Static Shock is so-so. That is much better. That's great, actually. This is a phenomenal hand now. That worked out really well. We'll take the 1 damage from Omen Hawk. We'd rather set it up for a Static Shock later. So we'll take 1 damage. That's pretty inconsequential. Now the real question is if we run out this Sentry. I think we're willing to pass.
Took the bait.
That's pretty good. I think now we will, because we'll stun that and kill it with Ravenous Bloc. We're probably not willing to Mystic Shot the Omen Hawk. Mystic Shot's something we kind of want to hold on to for an Ashe next turn. And then we'll swing with a Sentry to try and get rid of this Omen Hawk. Jury Rig can be really good in this matchup. Wow, he took the 3 damage. Perfect. That's fantastic. Now the real question is if he plays Ashe. Alright, so he's not playing Ashe. We'll run out of House Spider then. Just to build blockers. House Spider's really good in this matchup. Oh, it's this version. That's unexpected. How do I want to do this? I think we'll shoot these 2. Yeah, I think we'll shoot these 2. Get rid of the Omen Hawk and set us up to have better removal for these. We're gonna block here with the Sentry to get it down to Mystic Shot range. And then this also gets him to Mystic Shot range. So that's our best combo of plays. Pretty close to leveling up Ezreal already, so that's pretty good. Also, now we can swing into this with Draven.
I have the best job.
Which I think we are going to swing with this Draven
You
this
earn
turn.
the right to call themselves Trifarian.
Yeah, because even if he Frostbites, we can use
Watch
Mystic
and
Shock
learn.
to clear anything. Mystic Shot plus Spinning Axe. Let's see if he goes for it. Falls for the trap. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna Mystic Shot it. I suppose we should have Spinning Axe, discarding Jury Rig. Yeah, we'll still do that just to get the another Spinning Axe. I think that's worth it. And to get a little more damage through. Now if we
Now we're
block with any
cooking.
of these 1-drops, it'll kill his Yeti. And he burned a lot of resources for that. We should have Spinning Axe first, though. Though it still would have... Well, it would have had the same result, I suppose, so it doesn't really matter. Ooh, that's a pretty good one. Because now if he went for Reckoning, we could have killed all of it. That is a bit sketchy. We're just going to let him go to combat and see what he gives Overwhelm to. Because we're hoping he doesn't give Overwhelm to Assessor. Alright, that's perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for. We're going to block here, and we're going to Static Shock like this. Yeah. That's a pretty good play for us there. Oh, wow, and a Guillotine to kill Kato. That's pretty good. The question is, how worried are we of Culling Strike? I think we're going for this. We're hoping he goes for Reckoning. I mean, we're gonna level this Ezreal up regardless.
Let's see all of it.
But Culling Strike is what we're very scared of here. The good thing with Guillotine here is even if we don't get the second use of it, which we probably won't, we can rummage it away. Okay, so he does have the Culling Strike. So we're gonna do this, and I guess we're just gonna lose him, but unfortunate, but is the way that it is.
I'm so good, I surprised myself.
Alright, now we're just gonna see if we can find something a little better. Ah. Unlucky. Maybe we should have led on Guillotine and then played him.
Faster
That
than
might
my
have been the correct
arrow? I think not.
the correct play there, but we've at least burned a Culling Strike out of him.
Carve a path.
Okay, that's not too bad. What do we want to go with here? We can play House Spider, or we can play Sentry and stun something. I think we'll run House Spider out so we can block everything. Could play Chump Wump to trade with things too. What do we care about the least? We care about that the least. I think we'll run out the Chump Wump then.
If I'm still like a yodel in uniform.
And let's just go for killing this Ashe and see what happens. It's tempting to save Mystic Shot in case we find our other Ezreal, but I think we'd like to get this Ashe off the board as quick as possible.
Unified
He must have
trust.
something, because he really thought about that one. Ah, he's got another one.
Unite the
Okay.
Freljord.
Interesting. He's running out of cards, but so are we. Alright, so now we're gonna go for some damage this turn. That's unfortunate. Well, let's kill this Ashe at least. But that's scary. He's gonna do, what, 8 damage there? Well, let's see if he goes straight to combat. If not, we kill this Captain Farron at least. Alright, that's good for us. He should have swung first and then cast this, obviously, but... Things are not looking great for us, though. We definitely should have held the Ezreal. We made the classic mistake where you don't play Ezreal until he's leveled up. Should have led on the Guillotine. That was a strictly better play, but got greedy.
Cut him down.
I mean, we're fine. We're fine trading here. The decimates aren't enough to kill us. Not yet. That, however, is unfortunate. I don't think it's worth using the spinning axe. Well, we couldn't take the hit from them. That was just simply a fact. Well, 3 unknowns. What's the chance that he has Culling Strike? I mean, we have to run him out, though. We have to run this Ezreal out. And just hope we fog okay. The scary part here is we probably do have to kill one of these. Although maybe we are supposed to just go for max damage. Alright, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this game's over. I don't think there's anything we can top deck here. There's very little we can top deck here, that's for sure.
No way.
We need to, like, hit Progress Day and then a couple of great finds off of it.
For the hand.
Pretty sure that's game. Yep. And it is.
Noxus.
Oh well. Didn't get him this time. Like I said, it's a pretty brutal matchup. And they had the double Culling Strike. Alright. Finally a different matchup. Looks like Elusive Scouts. Haven't seen that deck in a while, so interesting to see it pop up again. House Spider is really good in this matchup. Culling Strike can catch him off guard too, especially now that Standalone isn't 3 mana anymore. I think the Static Shock is probably pretty weak here, so we'll pitch that. But we'll keep the double House Spider and the Culling Strike. Chump Wump's pretty good. They don't have a lot of great removal for Ezreal, especially now that Will of Ionia is even harder for them to use.
Leve. It's
I think we'll just run out blockers. Although we'll probably take the 2. Yeah, see, he's not even willing to make that attack. Maybe we should just save mana so we could play Ezreal and cast Mystic Shot this turn. I am gonna run him out though, because even if he has single combat here, he can't kill him.
Do not fear the shrouded path.
Watch and learn.
Do we want to swing with everything? I don't think so. I think we just swing with Ezreal, get the free damage in. We don't get to use the Mystic Shot, but it's a little bit of extra damage through.
Feel the sizzle. Can't fight on an empty stomach.
So we're just gonna block here. And we're going to try to kill this Zed. Force him to use any barrier spells now. Alright. We're not too worried about him gaining life. And we're banking a Mystic Shot here, so that's pretty good for us. We don't need to run this House Spider out yet. Oh, another Mystic Shot.
Dangerous.
Even better.
I'm in.
He's really thinking about trying to single combat kill it, I think. Or maybe Will of Ionia? Oh, that's not what we expected. That's very, very tragic for our opponent. That's super tragic for our opponent. We're just gonna kill all of these. We're gonna kill everything he has. And then Mystic Shot him to the face.
A morsel of regret.
Firing.
Order.
That was extraordinarily risky of our opponent. That was even worse than us running out Ezreal before leveling him up. Because that may have cost us all of last game. Alright. Let's see if he's found more action in his hand. Ah, Quinn.
Are no easy prey.
That's not too bad. Yeah, best answer here is to run out this House Spider and then use Static Shock to kill Valor so that he doesn't hit Ezreal. Because I assume he's going to pull Ezreal. That would be the smart play. Worst case scenario, he single combats Quinn? Yeah, that's fine. Because now Quinn is down to 2 health, so if he swings, it dies to House Spider. I mean, obviously we'd rather have kept, we would have rather kept Ezreal there, but... But it still worked out pretty well for us.
Let's boogie.
Got you in my sights.
Alright, sure. We'll take a free dead Quinn.
Virtue.
Ah, Radiant Guardian. Okay, alright.
Strike for justice.
No, we'll throw a chump blocker in front of that. I don't think we want to... No. Alright. We'll throw this one. Get 1 damage through.
Think I'm still like a yodel in
How
uniform.
close to Ezreal leveling up? Alright. We're still a little ways off. Okay, that... Now we'll hit both. This does nothing here, but we're just trying to get the Ezreal trigger. Oh my, that is easily the best card we could find at that moment in time. How worried are we about? I think we can swing with
Let's do this.
we can swing with both of these, since they can kill Radiant Guardian, because we can Spinning Axe onto any of them.
The darkness.
Yeah, we'll pitch the mushrooms.
Now we're cooking.
Tempting to just pitch one of these sentries, but... And this gives us leveled up Draven, too. Okay, that's what he's gonna go with. I think we do Progress Day right now, then. Because if we pull another Draven, we still kill her. Okay. No such luck on the nuts there, but... That's fine. We still get 4 damage through. Now we definitely don't play this Ezreal. I wanted to bank mana more than play this Draven, so that's why I just passed there. Keeping full mana is pretty good for us. Yeah, we'll throw Chump Wump away. Deal a fair amount of damage to her, hopefully. I'll play another Chump Wump.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
This Thermogenic can kill her, but I assume he has multiple barrier spells there, so we're really looking for something better. So I think we're gonna go a little bit greedy though. This will level up our Ezreal, so then we play Ezreal, we still have 5 mana, we can start rummaging. Actually, we could try to...
I shall lead the way.
Wow. Alright, yeah, we're going for the OTK then.
Check me out.
I mean, our opponent could have single combat,
Display of skill.
which could be scary for us.
Discipline or death.
Let's see, we'll pitch Draven and Sentry. Alright, that's pretty good. And we'll throw one of our 1/1s away. And then we'll just throw some Mushroom Clouds away. See if we can kill our opponent with some mushrooms. And we still have our Get Excited open, so if he tries to single combat with Radiant Guardian, we can kill her in response. He could do Tiana Crown Guard, and then we're just doomed, quote-unquote. But he's very incentivized to use Radiant Guardian because of lifesteal, which is also why we're only going to attack with Ezreal this turn.
Can't stop me.
The fact that he didn't attempt to kill my Ezreal is extraordinarily good for me there. Yeah, we're just gonna fire this in response. Then we're gonna play Chump Wump and just combo him off. Yeah, I think we have him. Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah, we have enough burst spells now. Yep. That's game.
Onward to victory.
Alright, we got there. And then rummage away for the win. Alright, we'll take another one.
Easy. Like my name.
Alright, against the Ionian Ezreal deck. I'll be very curious to see how this goes. We should be able to be more aggressive than them. The nerfs to NPz Ezreal have been pretty slight. We'll keep Mystic Shot, just a great way to get it towards our Ezreal, and then one Draven is really good in the matchup because it's super aggressive. And Gotcha, I don't want to ever keep in my opening hand. I didn't want the second Draven either. Ooh, Culling Strike's pretty good. We've seen how good Culling Strike is against Ezreal. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. The nerfs were fairly light, but it can be really bad for NPz Ezreal. I could see it being really bad, especially the Shadow Assassin nerf. But I don't think it really affects this matchup particularly heavily. All right, we'll run out the stream.
I have the best job.
We'll see what he goes for here. I'm expecting probably Concussive Palm, but we'll see. That's my guess, is that we get a Concussive Palm here. I mean, if you will Vionias, that's great for us. We could actually consider Culling Striking our own Draven at some point just to deny him the trigger, but I don't think we're at that point. Oh, yep, there's the Concussive Palm. So the sad part here is we don't get to attack, but we do kill this. So that's at least good. So we also get a trigger out of this. we're going to present triggers for our opponent more than they will for us, most likely. But if we can start finding some of our more aggro cards, exactly like House Spider, then this becomes problematic for our opponent. He gets plenty of... Oof, that's all of his mana. He has plenty of ways to trigger his Ezreal on us because we're going wide. But we're also threatening so much damage on him that we could win the race that way. But that's basically how this matchup has gone historically in previous versions, is that it just comes down to the Noxus version just tries to gas pedal him. We have more ways to trigger. Ooh, there we go. Static Shock plus Mystic Shot. Alright, now the question is it worth denying him a trigger? Because this will give him 3 more. Whereas if I kill this Draven, he's going to lose 2 triggers. I think we actually might do that. That feels bad to lose our Culling Strike, but I think we're okay with this. This matchup does come down to just who gets more triggers. Yeah, and then we'll just pass. We'll bank this whole mana. So losing our Draven was kind of rough. Oh wow, we'd love for him to tap out for something like a. We'll gotcha that. It would have been great if he tapped out for like a Karma. That would have been the best thing for us, but he gives us another trigger. That's good. Yeah, we're fine with that. We'll probably run this House Spider out, actually. See what our opponent does. We're both at 2 right now. There's the new Shadow Assassin. I don't think we can run this Ezreal out. I think it's still too easy for our opponent to kill him. Even though he's probably not running things like Gotcha and Get Excited. Yeah, we're swing in.
You cannot escape.
Yeah, we'll eat a Shadow Assassin. And then Static Shock here. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I don't think we're going to... I don't think we're going to do anything else to fight. Because I don't want to waste the one Static Shock, though. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. I don't think the one trigger is worth it. I think I'd rather just Progress Stay here. And draw a bunch of cards. Let's see what he does, though. Alright, we'll Progress Stay. That's not bad. I'm not worried of him slamming an Ezreal here. We have multiple ways to kill it. Ooh, Draven's good. What will he go for? Interesting. Claws of the Dragon? I mean, we're fine with Claws of the Dragon.
Party has arrived.
We might actually Jury Rig, just to get extra body. Interesting. Sure. We'll get more Spinning Axis.
Draven time.
Yeah, we're almost certainly going to put this, that's what he's going for. Okay. Yeah. So we are at a full hand now. So we are going to play this Jury Rig.
My beautiful face.
Ezreal's at 6. That's not too bad. We're probably going to pump the power on this House Spider. We're running into too many cards now. So we're just trying to empty our hand. We're still worried about an Ezreal coming down, but we have plenty of ways to deal damage to him and then finish him off with Ravenous Flock, even if he levels up.
Yasuo, show yourself.
Oh, Yone. Well, that's a leveled up Ezreal. That's our biggest concern here. Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. He's probably going to play Ezreal, and then we're going to have to fight over it. Oh, that's another thing he can play.
Heart and mind as one.
Alright, well now we're going to try to fast level our Ezreal. So we're going to Static Shock, try to hit both of them. And then this can set up Noxy and Guillotine to kill both. We'll see what he plays.
The blade above all.
Yeah, we're just gonna try to Noxy and Guillotine that. He's probably got a deny for this, which will be really good for him to lock off all of ours. Because like if this one goes through, okay, all right, perfect. Now we have another one. Like that was the one to deny because now I get another free one to use on Karma.
The body must thrive
Okay.
for the mind to be free.
Yeah, I mean I can still damage her. So I think we're gonna go for Mystic Shot with another follow-up Mystic Shot if he finds another way to help her. But now burst speed healing won't work. He has to have deny or like something that no, it has to be deny. That's the only option. All right, perfect. We're just gonna Mystic Shot again. Does this level up our Ezreal? No, this gets 6 and 7. We're lucky he didn't have an Ezreal. Ah, he did have the Rummage in time, though. What did he pitch to Rummage? That's the real question. Thermogenic and Rummage. And one of the cards he drew was Clos of the Dragon. That's great for us. We love to see this Clos of the Dragon. Because now we can kill this Clos of the Dragon to, or we can do that. That will also work. And we'll see what he plays. Alright, we're gonna run out this Ezreal now then.
I'm so good, I surprised myself. I thought you'd never ask.
And we'll see what he does. Okay. Is he looking for Thermogenic maybe? I think he's got one left.
Sounds dangerous.
Or like a stun spell probably. Okay, so we're gonna want to do stuff in response here. What are we looking for? So we do this. That gets him to 4. We do this. That gets him to 2. Then we're in pretty good shape for next turn. Wait a minute. I think we can actually kill him here. Pitch a Ravenous Flock. Gets him to 4. Gets him to 2. This pitching this should kill him. Well, alright, he has outs to this.
I know you're
He has
thinking
outs to
and
this.
stuff, but could you maybe speed things up a little?
Mystic Shot to kill this saves him. But then he's still in pretty bad shape. Oh, there we go. Got there. That was a very sketchy matchup. I can't believe we actually won that. It was looking pretty rough with how quickly he leveled his Ezreal up.
Like my name.
But like I said, we're actually pretty aggressive with the wide board state. So it can be very hard for him to deal with all of our threats. That's why House Spider is so good in the matchup. And then in general, he has a hard time killing an Ezreal. That's just the thing. Especially since the decks have dropped Get Excited and stuff like that. Most IPZ decks have dropped it. Now you probably do bring it back in because I don't know that you want the full playset of Wool of Ionia now that it costs 5 mana. So either way though, we'll take it. Pretty good for us. Alright, Banner Scouts. This ought to be interesting. This can be problematic, and it can also be fine. We have a lot of good removal for their stuff, and House Spiders is really good in this matchup. I think we keep Culling Strike. Noxy and Guillotine can be really good, but I don't think we want to keep it here. I think I'm much happier keeping Culling Strike and Get Excited for killing Misfortune on turn 3, and then Chump Wump for being able to trade with a lot of their bigger things, stuff like the bear, the Badger Bear. Ideally, we want to find a house spider. That's pretty rough. I didn't want a progress day, that's for sure. Ooh, Jury Rig's good. That can work. That can work well. We have a lot of decent chump blockers, and that's the big thing we're looking for. Ooh, Ravenous Flock is also super good. Alright, let's see what he does. I'm expecting something like a Misfortune here. Oh, if so...
New recruit reporting
how do we feel about that? Man, I think we still stun that. I think we're okay with this play. I'm not sure. I mean, we'll probably Ravenous Flock it if he doesn't present anything else.
You're covered.
Alright, well, we're definitely not going to Ravenous Flock it. Trying to think what we want to do here. I think we'll Culling Strike that. Just get one more trigger. And then next turn we run out this Chump Wump. Nah, that's fine. I mean, we lose this trigger, which sucks, but he still loses his Brightsteel Protector, and we didn't actually care if the Sentry lived. Like I said, having blockers is pretty important for this deck. Oh, now that we have a Sentry, we're willing to pass here.
Alright, let's mess some
Okay.
folks up.
Decisions. I think we'll stun her. Maybe. You know what? No, we'll play this Chump Wump.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
And if he plays anything else next turn before attacking with Ranger, we can stun the Ranger. Ooh, now we can Sentry plus gotcha.
Get rowdy.
Alright, well if that's the case, we'll Jury Rig, I think. We'll just cast it. It's tempting to get excited, kill Cythria, and drop it, but I'm not sure we actually want that. And he could trade with the Badger Bear. We're willing to lose this gotcha.
No
Perfect.
prey,
That's
no pay.
perfect. Could not ask for a better follow-up there. That's exactly why we were holding the gotcha. Was in case that came down. Yeah, we'll trade. Easy trade. Things are going pretty well for us right now, especially with this Progress Day to refill. Progress Day is good in the matchup, but it's not something you want in your opening hand. But you do want to hit it pretty quick. Because part of the real problem for us is that we're willing to pass here. Is that we can deal with their stuff fairly well.
With me.
Ooh. We could deal with it fairly well, but we run out of cards pretty quickly dealing with their stuff one for one. Now the question is, are we willing to swing? I don't think so. We'll Ravenous Flock here. Are we willing to get excited in? No, I think we're fine passing here, banking the mana in case we need a Progress Day. Oh, that's not bad. That's a pretty clean answer to her.
Break their spirits and their swords.
Yeah, we're still fine passing here.
I'm one of the good guys.
No, okay.
Not
Yep.
bad.
We'll kill her before he gets to attack multiple times. Yeah, I think we're burning both Get Excited here. See, this is what I'm talking about. Now we're down to almost no cards, but it's fine because next turn we'll refill with Progress Day. He doesn't get the double MF trigger this turn, which is good. We're gonna kill Genevieve with Ravenous Flock,
These woods belong to
and then we
us.
only take 2 damage, and we're still at 18. Now he's feeling better because he has 2 cards here, and we're down to 1. It just so happens that the 1 card we have is the best card we could possibly have. And our Ezreal's almost leveled up. We're in great shape. This is perfect. This is exactly where our deck wants to be. Oh, wow. Alright, perfect. I am a little worried to run out this Ezreal. Yeah. I don't think we want to. I think we're fine just shipping it to him for right now. And then we can play House Spiders. No, that's still not a lethal amount of damage. Ravenous Flock. How do I feel about that? Or Relentless Pursuit, I mean. Yeah, we're fine with that. We're fine with that. maybe we play Ezreal. Because we could play Ezreal and get this Ravenous Flock off. No, wait, that's... Yeah, we'll take the hit here. We'll take the hit here.
Feel the sizzle.
We're hoping he buffs this protege.
No
Perfect.
one goes hungry.
We're gonna kill it. We're gonna kill it, take the 4. And now our Ezreal's leveled up. And we didn't lose any mana to do that. We're going into this last turn in pretty decent shape here. Let's see what he finds, though. Because we don't have to slam Ezreal this turn.
The quiet of the woods.
Okay, so we'll play House Spider, just to have more blockers. And then we'll play Chump Bomb.
Their pride will
Yeah, I assumed he was going to swing with her first. Yeah, that's fine. We're still going to have multiple blockers going into the combat step.
Put on me mask, secure me tail, start the day.
Let's see what the last card in this hand is. That's the real question.
These woods belong to us.
Okay.
Eat up, friend.
Yeah, I think we want to take the least amount of damage.
Excuse you.
The question is, can we slam this Ezreal now? How many cards are left? We run a lot of risk by slamming this Ezreal. Because he hasn't played this card. He's been holding one card. There's a pretty decent chance that that one card is single combat. Or concerted strike something. Now we slam it with a gotcha. With a gotcha off the top. Absolutely. Now we slam the Ezreal.
Don't blink.
Now we're in great shape.
Safeguard our citizens.
We can still kill that with the gotcha.
Can't stop me.
Alright. Fire at him with that.
Charge.
And then we're going to fire these mushroom clouds off. We're fine having gotcha go to full cost. There's some major risks to casting this right now, so we're not going to do that. If that is single combat, and he's holding it like it is, whether it is or not, now we are going to have to fire the gotcha probably.
Attention! Ranger Knight present.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we'll progress day here. Yeah, we'll play a House Spider, I think.
Hold nothing back.
Oh, maybe we should have played Sentry.
Scouting ahead.
Question is, so we do that. The next one's still too expensive. Yeah, we're just gonna go for this. See if he has the single combat. I mean, the bright side is she's still dead. Okay, that is bad. That is bad for us. Are we actually dead? Oh, I think we just lost. That's unfortunate. He had it. Yeah, we should have led on Sentry and stunned her. That's what should have happened there. But yeah, that's game. Oh well. A little bit of a misplay there. If we ran Sentry out instead, I wanted multiple blockers, but really I didn't need multiple blockers. I wouldn't have been able to gotcha then, but it still would have been fine. But, oh well. Close game. The unfortunate part being, if we had tried to gotcha her earlier, it would have wasted the riposte and all that. But if that was a single combat, we lose the game right then and there. So we did the best we could. It was the correct play. Just unfortunately, everything worked out for our opponent there. But close game. All right. So to review, we went 3-2 in our matchups. We won and lost against FN Ashe Frostbite midrange. We beat ID Elusives. We beat the Ionia version of Ezreal, and then we lost to another midrange deck, Banner Scouts. To review the matchup specifically, for FN Ashe midrange, the problem that they have is like their large units are very hard for us to deal with at a cost-efficient level. We have Guillotine and stuff like that. We have ways to trigger Guillotine. Ravenous Flock can be good, but they're all things where we have to have multiple spells, and that can get very costly very quickly. They have lots of units to prevent us from going aggro. We usually can't sneak too much damage through, so we have to really just combo kill them with Ezreal. And Reckoning can wipe out all of our blockers, and then we're just dead right then and there. And then they have 3 copies of Culling Strike, which is a great way to kill Ezreal. The big pluses that we have is that Guillotine plus Flock helps to deal with those large units. We do have answers, unlike certain other variants of Ezreal. Ashe is pretty easy for us to kill, since we have Get Excited and Gotcha, and we can always combo together a number of things. We can stun her and then flock her. Sentry buys us a lot of time, because they usually are playing one creature at a time, so stunning one is super effective. And Spinning Axes can always save Ezreal from Culling Strike out of nowhere, and if we can save him from that, it pretty much ruins our opponent's game right then and there. So we have a number of answers for the matchup, but it's definitely pretty close to a 50-50 matchup for us. ID Elusives, the threat with them is that they can be faster than our ability to kill their units, since they can hit things like standalone and all that. That makes their units super huge, super quick, so if we don't have chump blockers, they can just blow us out instantly. And Deny is just a major threat, since it can very quickly answer things that basically ruin our whole game. If we cast a Static Shock targeting 2 of their units, and we've got like Ravenous Flock for backup and all that, if they deny that Static Shock, that just ends our game pretty much, since we now didn't get 2 triggers, we didn't draw a card, and we can't Ravenous Flock either to kill their stuff. So Deny is just a huge threat. Elusives are impossible for us to block, so if they play Elusives, we're in trouble. And Rally pressures our clock extremely highly. The pros we have is that Sentry is huge. Their biggest turn is usually turn 3 when they slam something like Zed or like Solitary Monk, something like that, with some sort of buff spell to protect it in turn. If we just slam a Sentry and stun it, that can put them so far behind on their clock that now they're just basically doomed. And then Chumps are very good for Zed, because he has 2 attackers, but like a House Spider shuts down that whole attack essentially. Most of their creatures have very low health. Zed has 2, Solitary Monk only has 3, stuff like that. They run like Green Glade Duo that only has 1 health, so it's very easy for us to kill their stuff if they don't have ways to protect them, or even to kill them through protection, because it doesn't require much to deal enough damage to kill them. And then they can't really answer Ezreal well. The best things they have is like Will of Ionia in single combat, but a lot of their creatures can't just single combat Ezreal and kill them, or can't do it safely. And Will of Ionia, all it does is just buy them a little more time, and if they're spending 5 mana to do that, that's really good for us. For the Ionia Ezreal deck, there's a lot of scary factors here. Karma is extremely scary late game. It gives them so many free spells and duplicate spells that it's so easy for them to out-tempo us and just build up this huge card advantage that we just can't deal with. And Deny breaks symmetry, because they might Static Shock 2 of our creatures, and then we might try to Static Shock 2 of theirs, and then they deny it, and now they got the 2 triggers, we didn't. It just massively destroys what we're trying to do. So it's very, very scary. And they can slow down our aggro pretty well, since we don't go that wide. Things like Concussive Palm are really good. But this leads into the bright side, is that our aggro package is much quicker than theirs, so it can force them to play units to block our stuff, which allows us to get our Ezreal triggers. Even though they could just wait to the late game and slam a flipped Karma, usually their removal spells are so high cost that they can't just keep removing units quite as well as we can, so they have to play their own units to block, and then we can kill those units and level up our Ezreal about at the same time. And then we also have Culling Strike and Get Excited and Gotcha, which all answer Ezreal or Karma extremely well, whereas they mostly just have Mystic Shot, which doesn't kill our Ezreal or our Draven, and so they just have stuff like Will of Ionia and Concussive Palm to slow us down, but not actually kill our creatures. And then we have more burn for their face. Like, they just have the Mystic Shot pretty much now, and Static Shock to a lesser extent, whereas we have Get Excited, which is a huge amount of burn for their face, so that means we could just really quickly win with our flipped Ezreal in ways that they might not necessarily be able to do without Karma. And then finally, we have Banner Scouts. Rally's a huge threat. They have large units, and a lot of them. They fill the board really quickly with really tough units that are hard to remove with what we have. Grizzled Ranger is just a huge threat, since, yeah, it's easy to kill the first one, but it's 3 damage if we don't kill it, and if we do kill it, then they get a 3/4, which is very hard for us to kill, since 4 health puts it above a lot of our removal, since a lot of it is 3 or lower. So it's just a really hard creature for us to deal with, and with a lot of scout stuff, they get multiple attacks a turn, and if they rally, that's even more attacks a turn, so they could just clock us super quick, especially if we're missing our own aggro package to chump. But the bright side is, Ezreal can be really scary due to their relatively low lack of removal, or low amounts of removal. It's mostly just like single combat or Make It Rain, which Make It Rain doesn't really do much against Ezreal. So we can usually use Ezreal to get a lot of free removal from Mystic Shot, but it is still very risky. So going that route can be punished pretty heavily, but it's one of the safer matchups to do it against. And then Guillotine plus Flock at least gives us some sort of answer to their large creatures. And if we do find our chump blockers, that's extremely strong for just slowing our opponent down enough for us to win, and stuns can also be strong for the same reasons. Stunning a scout unit is one of the best answers for things like Grizzled Ranger, for example. Overall, what I like about the deck is that it can win pretty much any matchup. There's no matchups that are just like a hard loss where you're like, I can't win this ever, because of the fact that we have a combo of aggro and control. If we hit like a hard control matchup, we can actually potentially aggro them and essentially force them to play creatures, so we can get our Ezreal to level up, and then we just combo kill them, and they usually will have a hard time dealing with that kind of win condition. And Ezreal can just win games out of nowhere in any matchup because of this. You can just slam him down, play a bunch of cheap spells, and your opponent's dead right then and there. And also, games can be very quick, because this deck does level up your Ezreal really quickly, even more quickly than, say, the Ionia variant, where it has a lot of high-cost spells that target our opponent's stuff. We have a lot of low-cost ones, so we can level Ezreal pretty quickly, and that makes our games usually a little faster than the Ionia variant. And then we have actual, like, real removal rather than time buyers. So, Bilgewater lacks a lot of removal, because a lot of their removal is really weak. Like, Make It Rain only deals 1 damage. They can create kegs to try and increase that, but if the kegs die, it doesn't actually increase the damage. So, their removal can be pretty weak. It's more or less Riptide Rex or Bust, which is a super high-cost late-game removal, so that's not exactly consistent. They mostly just try to chump our opponent's stuff by playing a bunch of creatures. So we actually have real removal. We have Guillotine, Ravenous Flock, Culling Strike, stuff like that that can really deal with our opponent's creatures rather than just trying to chump them or trade with them. And then the Ionia variant, most of its removal is just time buyers. They don't actually remove your opponent's stuff. Like Will of Ionia just bounces it for a turn. Concussive Palm just buys one more turn by stunning it. Stuff like that. Like, it doesn't have a lot of actual real removal that kills your opponent's creature and makes it gone for good. So our deck does do that. So it's very good into the mid-range matchup, whereas Ionia can deal with our opponent's stuff really easily by just stunning it and constantly buying us time, but eventually they have this huge board state that we can't do anything about, and either you combo kill them then, or they just run you over, whereas our deck can actually kill those things, remove it, so they never establish that crazy board state. So it's a deck that feels like you have more ways to actually deal with your opponent's stuff, rather than just hoping you can buy enough time. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos just like it.